friends, welcome back. Today I am re-recording a Dollar Tree book review. Typically I do 5 books in my reviews, but this one has 6. There was one in here that I just needed another read after. I was not a fan. We're going to be talking about each one of these books. These are 6 hardcover books for $1.50. If any of us know anything about a book, is that the hardcovers are always expensive. So to get some awesome reads for $1.50, it's totally worth the risk. If you can find some in Dollar Tree, give it a chance, meet some new authors, some new genres, whatever. So we're just going to dive in and get started. I write all of my book reviews or all of my brain dumps in my Dollar Tree book journal. It's adorable. It's where I track all of the stuff that I read. I have one for all my categories of book reviews. We have Kill Show by Daniel Swarin Becker. This is a really cool looking book. It's a short read. Find You in the Dark by Nathan Ripley. This book, I don't know what it was about this lime green and black combo. That's not even a color palette that I actually enjoy, but when I found this book, I was like, oh, you better be good, because it just looks so good. The Girls of Summer by Katie Bishop. Now, this is actually one that I thought I wasn't going to enjoy, so I'm excited to kind of give you my thoughts on this one. Then we have Dark Circles by Kate Dolan Leach. We have The Overnights by Ian K. Smith. And Wake by Shelby Burr. It's the first one we're going to go over. This one I did rate it 3.25 stars. I felt like it was very slow, but still intriguing. One of the main reasons I didn't give this one as much is because along with the slow pace, I feel like I kind of anticipated where we were going with the characters and how that was going to unfold. And if you're a real true crime or mystery thriller lover, then it's got to have a little bit more to kind of keep you in suspense and hold you in the story. Since I enjoy reading mystery thrillers, I feel like this one was a little timid for me. It's a great read if you want a filler or if you're new to thrillers and mystery and you kind of don't want to follow a drawn out or really deep plot. This felt very slow paced, but in a smooth way. I did like the characters and I did enjoy the story. The events that unfolded weren't like bam, but they did make the story interesting. A simple mystery, kind of thriller with a good twist, but if you like more intense reads, you kind of saw it coming, which is kind of what I explained. But it was still good. We were following several characters that all have a history to unravel, but as the story unfolds, we begin to single out people throughout their stories behind a missing father and a daughter. The reason it was such a big mystery is because this father and daughter were either missing or not missing, but if they weren't missing, then where were they? Because they had more family. So that's kind of how this began to unravel and people were asking questions. There's a private detective we're following to a small town to get the history of these two, and that's how it begins to unfold. He's asking all the questions. So we're following him, asking everybody questions, kind of getting information from everybody. But like I said, it's kind of slow paced. It's not really intense. There's not a lot of crazy action scenes or anything to kind of wrangle you back in if you're kind of going off in thought, but it was still a good story. Okay. I saw this book and I was like, oh man, this is going to be good. Look at it. It has a gorgeous cover. It is a beautiful hardcover book, just so nice looking. So whenever I picked this up, I was like so excited. And then it wasn't, and I will explain why. So I gave this one a 3 stars because it has a good storyline, it has a good plot, the characters are meh, but my biggest problem with the characters is that I got character ick whenever I was reading it. The main character is just supposed to be so known and so heroic and so handsome and so perfect, and everybody just talks about it. Every time he's introduced to someone, he has like a zinger or like, I don't know, like a bump kind of moment, and it's really cringe. And every time I felt like I was like, okay, we're past that weird cringe moment and like I'm done rolling my eyes. Let's get back to the plot. It wasn't that long before I was rolling my eyes again and it was cringe all over again. So for me, if you're okay with that kind of writing, then great, but I just can't get past it. This character in the writing is so cringe. We're following an ex-police officer turned PI type. He's investigating a police shooting, and that's what we're following. Unfortunately, he's written to be so handsome and humble, but comedically timed, where every introduction has a zinger or someone just knows how amazing he is before they meet because people talk about him all the time. that he's handsome, he's a hero, he's just perfect, and it's not worth reading for the plot, to be honest. I rolled my eyes several times. I annoyed myself. I mean, it had some action moments and a good ending reveal, but you had to get through all the cringe of it. So that's just my thing. It's just an it, because I did read the whole thing. And then I felt like I regretted reading the whole thing. The ending was okay. And then in my mind, I'm like, I need to read something else because I can't end it like that. If that's your writing style and it keeps it a little light, then this is definitely the read for you. That's just not my vibe. I was like, dude, that is way too cringe for me. I wanted to love this book because it is so gorgeous. That is my initial reaction when I see Dollar Tree books. I absolutely go off the cover and I just want to be in love with it. So I already go in kind of biased with like high hopes and positive. But in this case, this was actually a good story. So I did give it a 3.25. There were a few things that I felt kind of were problematic. For one, it felt extremely long. There were 370 pages, and I feel like that could have been condensed down to like 325. There was a lot of filler information. I feel like a lot of the dialogue was going between narration and actual characters participating in the story. My 3 words to describe this one was long, divided, and good. And the reason it felt divided is because the character in this story is also narrating a podcast, a true crime podcast. So you get podcast narration and then you get the actual story unfolding. So it does make it feel longer, and I can understand how the story could actually kind of be stretched out in that manner. And that was the part that was kind of like, okay, maybe we can do less of that and keep it more around the true crime part. Whatever, not my story, right? But what I wrote was, okay, I liked it, but I feel like it dragged on. It was giving Scientology meets true crime meets a cult, a lot of talking, a lot of what felt like filler details, but I liked it. We got bits of a true crime podcast situation, so it was understandable that it carried on because, of course, when the character is narrating the podcast, you're kind of narrating what was already done. You see what I'm saying? But you're trying to do it without repeating everything. So there is like this little quick summary or dialogue that comes along with the story we've already read. We're following a woman who is going to a retreat to recenter herself after having a very public meltdown. While at the center, someone dies and she begins to ask questions. Then more women die or disappear, and that's basically the main focus of the story. And again, it felt very long. Okay, The Girls of Summer by Katie Bishop. I really liked this story. I gave this one 4.25 stars. I think that's what I gave The Possibilities. I loved The Possibilities. This was such a good book. You can see it's not super long. This one was 310 pages, 60 pages less, and a whole lot more was covered in this book compared to 370 pages of this book. And I'll explain in a second. But my words for this one, I had eye-opening, reflective, and good. It says, there's so much to cover in this book. We're talking predatory relationships, manipulation, narcotics, alcohol, trafficking, pregnancy, termination of a pregnancy, silent betrayals, young adult naivety, abuse, mental and schmexual, and more, all under the guise of love. It's wild, but well written. And I say it's giving Epstein because of the buildup to how these types of situations happen. Then as characters get older and their interpretation begins to shift because they begin to see with their frontal lobe, they realize what was really happening to them. So much more, but tastefully done. I did enjoy the friendships and how they healed after so much loss and trauma, unity amongst young women. There is a lot that is covered in this book, and the descriptive elements in this book that created this sense of unawareness because you're young and everything's a blur and life is just moving, and you're in that position where you're old enough to make your own decisions, and you're probably not making the best ones, and things are just happening and unfolding so quick that you don't even know what you're in until years and years later when you're starting to kind of break down what you actually went through. So much. And then to have different characters go through different things, and they lose friends and they lose these friendships and situations, and then they kind of bring it all back together. I mean, just, it was so good. There was a lot in here, but it was so good and I loved it. So I highly recommend this book. 4.25 stars. Absolutely a great read. The next one is Kill Show by Daniel Swarin Becker. This one was awesome. So this one was very much like true crime podcasty as well, or maybe more like documentary style, because we're following 26 characters, 26 people that were a part of this story. So in here, I gave it 4 stars, and I wish it was longer. It is such a short read. It's very much documentary style. If you can imagine how documentaries and interviews kind of unfold, where you're jumping from character to character and discussing different scenes or different personal situations with whatever victim or whatever, that's kind of how this unraveled, and I loved it. I like this book a lot. It was done in interview form, a very documentary, true crime, unravelly. If you can imagine how that looks, it's pretty much how it happens. We're following everyone involved in the case of a missing 16-year-old girl. As the interviews happen, we get close to the people and their versions of the story. There are several twists and turns. Just when you think you're nearing the end, wrong. It's so good. I loved this one. $1.50 for a great read. Absolutely recommend. And last is Find You in the Dark by Nathan Ripley. I gave this one a 3.95 star, even though I did kind of love it. The 3 words to describe this book were quick, suspenseful, and intriguing. The most surprising moment for this one for me was finding out one of the character's original intentions, which was kind of coming out or put out in the story, but you couldn't quite connect how this transition happened. This is what I wrote. I enjoyed this book. The writing was simple and flowed very well. The characters weren't overdone. I especially enjoyed the kid or the young adult in the story. We follow a family that lost a family member previously. Along with that, the story of the murderer comes out because he dies. There's someone finding the bodies of his victims, and this family is hoping one day it will be their family member, but the family gets entangled in this situation that leads to the unraveling of people's past while trying to figure out the huge problem that presents itself along the way. It shows that the lack of love can create a traumatic response as well as heal one. Imagine what would have been had the wife not shown him love. It was kind of clear what was happening, but then there are bits and pieces that you have to figure out along the way. And when there's one of the big reveals, I was like, wow, didn't see that coming. But the story was good. I really enjoyed it. The only reason it didn't quite make it to 4 stars for me was because I felt like it could have been more intense. And I feel like they kind of wrangled it in. And had they just given a little bit more grit and maybe raunch to it, it would have pushed it right over that 4 stars. But this is a really good book. I do like it as a mystery thriller type situation. I think it's a great story. So highly recommend this one as well. Okay, friends, so that is it for my Dollar Tree 6 book stack review. I do hope that it helps, so that way whenever you go out into the world and you find some of these maybe on your Dollar Tree shelves, you can go ahead and pick them up. For now, guys, that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!